Call the school committee meeting to order on Monday, June 27th, 2022, at 6 p.m. Let's see, Mr. Walsh, would you lead us in the salute to the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. School committee members and student reports. Mr. Stevens, Resource Subcommittee.
No report at this time.
I skipped myself. School committee chair, I have nothing to report at this time as well. Resource Committee, Mr. Stevens. Excuse me, School building needs.
School building needs. We don't have a meeting, we haven't had a meeting, but I would like to have a meeting, Mr. Shalafo, if maybe we can get Mr. Roach involved. And is it possible that we could do it at 6 o'clock for Mr. Hughes, and we would do it in maybe that second week in July?
Okay.
There are just many things. We haven't had an update on all of the projects that are going on this summer. And I'd like to know more about the high school too, you know, what projects are going to be done with the high school, because we have a full-time groundskeeper. Yep. Thank you.
Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none. What are we at? Student support?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have anything to report. However, I do have one question. May I?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So studies are showing that when students are exposed to teachers of color, they become better problem solvers, more creative. They go to the university and remain there, a lot of them. So with that in mind, does anyone have a number of how many teachers of color are hired for the 2022-23 school year?
You're asking for
New.
personnel?
Yes,
Document?
teachers, new teachers.
Mr.
To add to what
Superintendent?
was there.
We would have to, I guess, run a report and see if we have that data for this school year that's just completing, correct?
No, for the 2022-23.
We're in the process of hiring
How many
now.
new ones are hired?
We're hiring now.
Okay. So
So we have, well, over 50
how many so far?
positions. I don't know.
Oh,
We don't know. We'd have to get back to you.
thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, you're welcome, Doctor. Personnel Subcommittee, I have nothing to report at this time. Policy Subcommittee, Mr. Horgan, I know you're just entering. Any,
Nothing new to report at this
nothing
time.
to report? Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, moving on. Student Representative,
Nothing to report?
all right. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes from the previous school committee meeting of June 6, 2022.
Make a motion?
Motion made,
Second.
seconded to accept the approval of minutes of the meeting of June 2nd, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. Approve the minutes from the school committee training workshop held on June 15th, 2022. Tracy O'Connell Novick of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees.
So moved.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Thank you. Anyone wishing at this time to make public comment?
Can we have
Yeah.
communications first?
Oh, did I miss that? Yes, I did. Communications, thank you.
All the way down the bottom.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like
Yes.
to, just want to commend the class of 2023 to you, since you're in that class, that the rock has been repainted reflecting your graduation year. And it was good to see that. I think it was last week or the week before, so,
Oh, I missed that.
yeah, so
Well,
thank you.
thank you.
Well done to the class. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. That's great. Thank you. Any other communications? Seeing none, moving on to public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment? Is there anyone wishing to make comment virtually that we're aware of? None. and no one in the building at this time. Moving on, Superintendent's report. Mr. Jokela.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, we only have 3 items on the agenda under the superintendent's report. First of all, I'd like to welcome Principal Mark Pierce, I'll say outgoing principal of McKay Arts Academy. And with him tonight are Nicole Bourgeois and a student, Iana Lewis, to discuss the Patriotic Essay Recognition, the event that happened now about 2 weeks ago at McKay. So if all 3 of you can come to the table and...
All right, hello everybody. My name is Nicole Bourgeois. I have been the social studies teacher at McKay for the past 3 years, and I will be moving to Longzhou this fall. The past 3 years, we've been working with Richard Vaughn and Bill Moran, who are both part of the American Legion Post 10. They sponsor a writing contest called the Pensive Patriots. Every year, each one of the prompts revolves around a theme or concept related to civics education, so we only offer it to our 8th graders because that's what they are learning is civics. This year's prompt was what makes a good American, so it's an awesome opportunity for students to apply what they're learning in the classroom to their lives in the moment. It's also a great opportunity to make connections with our local community. So this year, the judges included former FHS students, current FHS students, and local educators who read the essays and offered scores. Both myself and Tracy Donovan at McKay have about 65 students. This year, we had 40 students participate. About 2 weeks ago, like Mr. Jokela said, we had a ceremony where we invited the superintendent and we invited both Richard Vaughn and Bill Moran of the American Legion to come. We honored 7 winners and 3 honorable mentions. We did a little ceremony and we gave them their prizes, which were $300 awarded by the Post. To give them a little bit of a shout out, we had 3 honorable mentions. So those were 3 students that worked incredibly hard, probably the hardest that we've ever seen them work on an assignment this year. So that was Leilani Rosado Resto, Parker Gillen Carnes, and Azai Pierre Louis. We had 3 third-place winners that each got $25 from the Post. That was Juan Rivera Jr., Olivia Michaud, and Jose Sololimas. We had 3 second-place winners that were awarded $50 each, Julian Chacon, Jaylene Melendez, and Alejandro James. And then finally, we had 1 first-place winner who was here tonight. She won $75, and that was Iana Lewis, who's here to talk about her essay.
My name is Iana Lewis, and I wrote what I thought was a good American this year, and I chose to write about my mother. She was the biggest inspiration for me growing up, and seeing her not only struggle through poverty and growing up with not much experience from parenthood as she was adopted, but also seeing her move through being a mother for the first time 3 times with children that she didn't know how to take care of. And not only did she flourish with that, she excelled, and she made 3 beautiful children, me, my sister, and my brother, and we're all incredibly grateful to her. She currently works in government, and she has inspired me to work in government as well.
Well said.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Thank you. How did we arrive at $75? Can't we round that off to 100?
Yes.
If you want to put that
Nice
word in for
round
next
number.
year, that would be amazing. If you want to put that word in for next year, that would be totally amazing.
No, I'm talking about now. I'll throw in 25.
I just want to give Ayana one more shout out. She's incredibly humble. We also do academic awards, and she was my civics top scholar this year. She is a huge social justice warrior. She talked a lot about the Black Lives Matter movement in her essay, and I am determined to say it here in front of everybody that she's totally going to work in government one day. So definitely doing things like this is a huge opportunity for our students to kind of see where they're going to go and apply what they're learning. So Ayana did an awesome job. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Pierce? Well, I don't know if you have any closing comments, any...
I was more supportive. So we're very proud of her, and like Nicole said, it's not going to surprise me in, maybe 5 years that we see her on school committee or city council, or, and the city of Fitchburg needs that, and so I'm going to look forward to that day. So again, congratulations. She represents McKay, one of our best and brightest right here, so we're very proud.
Great.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is an update on the Crocker Elementary School project that we're in design development phase with the MSBA. And tonight with us, we have John Bates from the Colliers Project Management Group, our owner's project manager, and we have Diana Nicholas, Ed Bourget, and is it Carla? Who else do we have from SOM? I can't read the screen.
Katie Kernizan.
Katie.
So, John, I don't know if you want to give just a little summary as to where we're at overall with the project, and then we'll have the SOM team go through the slides, and I think then have the virtual tour.
Yep, thank you, Superintendent Jankula. Just a quick note about where we are in the process of this Crocker Elementary School project.
John, can you speak up?
John, can you speak up a little bit, or?
Yeah. How's that? Better?
Better, much better, thank you.
Okay. All right, just a quick overview of where we are in this process. As the superintendent mentioned, we are still in the design phase. We've just issued a progress set to our cost estimators to see where they calculate we are in relation to our construction budget, and we'll get those numbers from them the week after next. On the 15th of July, we're planning to submit a progress set for review by the MSBA, and they will respond with review comments, which we will address as we work towards finishing the design documents by the end of September of this year. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Diana Nicholas, our architect, and she's going to do a virtual walkthrough of the project.
Diana, you're muted.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Hi, I'm Diana Nicholas. I'm the president and CEO at SOM Architecture. And as John said, we have just wrapped up the 60% phase of design development. So I'm going to take everyone through a series of slides that show a basic introduction to the building and then some interior renderings. The renderings are also a preview of what you will see in the animation after we finish the slides. Not having a good tech night so far. Maybe you should share, because mine's just not showing.
Do you want to try page up and page down instead of the arrows?
I did page up and page down. It's just not responding. I'm not sure why.
Okay.
So I'll stop. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So for those of you that are not familiar with the project, I'm going to give a brief introduction, starting with the site plan, which you see here. So the building in yellow is the new proposed building, and the gray building is the existing school. So this is an important diagram in understanding the phasing of the construction. You can see there's a small overlap area, which is the current modulars on the existing building. That will have to be demolished in order for the new school to be built. But the remainder of the existing building will stay in place as the new school is constructed. Next slide. So looking at the new school and site in a bit more detail, the gray building, again, is the proposed school. We are keeping the existing playgrounds, and we are modifying the parking. So we are creating a new bus drop-off at the front of the school. We are also adding parking on the east side of the site. And then you can see down below where there's existing parking. Okay, you can point that out, thank you. And again, you can see where the existing building is in the black dashed outline. Next. think we had one more before that, Katie. It's not, it seems to be not responding so well. So while we're, okay. So these are the floor plans of the new building. On the left is the first floor plan. Katie, maybe you can point out the entrance to the building. That leads you into a volume that includes the gym on the left of the entry. That makes it easy for the public to get in and out of the building for events that are after hours at school. Just above that in purple, that's the cafetorium, which has a stage and the music classroom attached, a shared platform. And then over on the right of the entrance is a block of spaces that include the building administration and some of the mechanical space, as well as the nurses' room and some other shared spaces for the building. So as you continue up the plan, essentially through the building, and you'll see this better when we do the animation, you're moving into what we call the academic block. So there are 2 learning communities within each half of this block. And so each learning community will accommodate a grade. The darker spaces are shared spaces that are resources for kids in multiple learning communities. So they may travel to those spaces depending on the needs of the students or the curriculum. And then on the second floor, if we go over, you can see that the academic block is essentially repeated above that in the same way. The aqua spaces that you see throughout the building, and you definitely see in the academic block, are what we call extended learning. So these are spaces that allow smaller groups of students to come out of the classroom, to meet with other kids from other classrooms or maybe from their own, and do a more focused activity together. So then also on the second floor, above the cafetorium in the orange, that's the media center, which you'll also see very clearly in the animation today, as well as the gym, as the art and the health classrooms that are just below that. Thanks, Katie. We also have the upper level of the gym, so it's a double story volume. And then the learning community to the right of that is the 5th grade. So they're separated to give them a little bit more autonomy as they prepare for middle school. Next. So this is more of a bird's eye view, but it's without the roof, as you can tell. So this is the lower level. Again, the orange is the gym and the purple is the cafetorium. You can see that the cafetorium has a series of steps that accommodate the stage, but also come up to the same height as the music classroom. That allows the music classroom to open up and in essence be a second stage should you have a larger event that requires more performance space. Then to the right of that, you can take a ramp down, and that takes you into the academic wing if you're coming from that upper level. You can also see a little bit more clearly here the bus drop-off. We did not talk about that when we were looking at the site plan. Thanks, Katie. So we have 2 different lanes for separate bus and car drop-off. Go to the next slide. So the upper level, again, you can see the media center in yellow that sits above the area where we had the cafetorium before, as well as the gym and the health classrooms and the academic blocks. Next. And this just shows you the roof plan. I will point out here, you can see there's a piece of the roof that has a series of openings in it. That's part of the outdoor learning area. So it's a space where people can be outside, maybe if they need a little shade, and it transitions out of the media center onto this large outdoor open air classroom area. We'll also get a good view of that as we circle around the building on the animation. So this is the front entry of the building. Some of you that are familiar with the design in previous iterations may remember we had a different geometry of the panels on the gymnasium. So this is a new pattern that we've been looking at. That's a more regularized facade from the geometric point of view. That is one of the many things that we have done of late to address the need to lower the cost of the building somewhat. And you'll see more of that pattern as we go around the building. The canopy serves a couple of purposes. It not only allows you to be covered as you enter the building, but at the end of the day, you can see the gym has a door on that wall. Thank you, Katie, where the canopy intersects. And so the kids that are going to get on the bus can wait in the gym, and then they come out under the covered area. Next. So this is the view when you enter the building and you come into a secure area, and you can see we have, I'm going to use the word turnstiles, but they're a little bit more sophisticated than that. So if you're coming into the school as a visitor, you're going to be seated in a secure area after you've checked in with someone in the administrative office on your right. And then this is a double height space. So you can see the upper level of this space is a bit of the 5th grade learning community. Kind of hard to see that at the top. And then we have some conical geometry there in the roof that will let light in. They're essentially round skylights, but they're constructed a little bit differently than skylights. So right now you see a lot of white up there. This is one of the areas where we're looking at adding some color or some graphics. So coming into the building is going to be something that grabs your attention and and helps orient you to the building. Next. So now we've moved further into the building. We've passed the gym, we've passed the administrative block, we're in the building, and this is the cafetorium. So you can see I mentioned the 2 stages. So the one that has the green vertical panels in front of it, those vertical panels will open up so that the music classroom can double as a second stage when needed. On the right, you can see the pathway that goes down the hall towards the academic wing. And you're passing some colored glass, and that is there to let colored light into the cafetorium and provide some natural light. So one of our basic design philosophies is biophilic design, or design that encourages the relationship between the occupants of the building and nature. So here you're seeing out to a landscaped area, but we're also using colors that are evocative of nature. Certainly green and blue are 2 of those that you see there. So continuing into the building, Katie. So this is a view of the gym, and we've started looking at graphics that we can put on those walls. We're thinking about something that relates to the clouds, which again is a biophilic concept, and it seems like an appropriate motif for this double height space. And then you've got this really playful window pattern that's also biophilic in the sense that we talk about nature and the sort of beautiful irregularities within nature. Next slide. So now we've gone up to the 2nd floor. So this is the media center that I mentioned. And again, you've come up, you're coming up a ramp here into the media center. And then you can see the doors that are beyond all of these students. Those take you to the outdoor learning area and to that semi-covered outdoor area, as well as the area that extends out into the landscape. And again, on the left, you can see more of that colored glass. And if you're down on that level and you continue, you will go into the 5th grade learning center. Next. So this is a typical classroom. You can see the classrooms all have really generous windows. We want a lot of natural light coming into the space. We've recently reconfigured those, and we actually have saved money but added the amount of natural light that is coming in. Next. So I mentioned the extended learning areas before. The one on the left is an example. All of these extended learning areas will be different biome themes. So this one is, evocative of ocean and colors that you would see with the water. There are other ones that are green, or maybe rust if it's a desert. And so we wanted those to be sort of places that provided identity within the learning communities. And then there are some other that are just general and out in larger shared areas, for instance, just off of the cafetorium. You can also see at the end of this corridor, Again, we have some of the colored glass, and that is because we really want the occupants to be able to see out of the building, even when they're walking on the inside of the building. Next. So this is part of the extended learning the outdoor learning. So over on the right is the area where you would arrive if you were coming out of the media center. And then you can come out to this area for all kinds of activities. And this also connects kids to the play fields that are adjacent to this area. So this is the east facade. This is the area of parking I mentioned that's new to the site. And it gives you, so the main block of the building that has the 5th grade above, and then the nurse and the administrative offices, thank you, Katie, is there. And then you continue around the building. You can see kind of in the distance, the area of some more of that blue and green glass, that's the glass that is letting light into the cafetorium. I think we'll get a better view of the exterior as we go around the building in the animation. With that, we'll start the animation. So the animation is really a work in progress. It's a design tool for us. So you're seeing a certain point in time, a fairly recent point in time for the design, but it allows all of us to understand the building better. So this area we call the biophilic court. And again, we're looking at those white surfaces and the way that we can add color or biophilic imagery there. The area on the right is the cafetorium servery. Okay, so that's not good.
Okay, thank you, Diana. I don't know if there are any comments from
Very good.
the school committee or John, if you have any updates in terms of next steps as well.
Did you ask for comments?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I could make a lot of comments. I would like to see it speak, at what stage of development is this?
This is in the design
Construction
development
doc.
stage?
Design. I'd like to speak of Fitchburg. I find it annoying to go, let's say, that this could be in any city in any town in the United States. It's generic rather than particular, and to Fitchburg. And I saw predominantly corridors. I don't know what the classrooms are like there. I'd like to know how many classrooms there are, how many students can it accommodate at the moment? How much flexibility is there for either upsizing or downsizing in the future? I'd like to know how many bathrooms there are and where they're located, how many bathrooms for teachers, how many teachers' lounges, preparation rooms. This is, as I say, generic for me. Another thing that I reflected on was, are all of these lights, what kind of lighting is it? And also, in the very beginning, you had the entranceway, and there were two areas that you could go through. What was the purpose of that? Are the students going to be checked on entrance? I don't know if you can recall that, but in the beginning, there were two. Is it all fluorescent lighting? The other... awful lot of corridors, awful lot of walking. How is it particularly student-friendly? I could see this being a hospital, an incarceration building. It could almost be turned into anything, but so I would like it to be attractive to whatever classes, whatever grades are there. It was particular to them, just like you would do at home. You would, if you had a child's room, you'd make it child-friendly. So I just didn't see any classrooms or that kind of thing. And also, are the windows, since we do have concerns with safety, I'm wondering if any of the windows are especially securely, or super plated or bulletproof, this kind of thing, which probably is where we have to go to now. Those are just thoughts that I had as I was watching.
Yes, Dr. Knight.
Yes, I guess this is everyone's first time of seeing this beautiful architectural draft and design. I do have some of the same concerns as Rosemary, but some of mine are also different. I think it's a beautiful building. I think if I was a student, I would acquire a lot of knowledge in that facility. And I did want to know, like, how many students are we going to be able to serve there? If at some point the other elementary school are going to be moving over into the building. And I also wanted to, would there be, again, would the central office be moving over to this building? I didn't understand what was going to take place with the old building that was there. I don't remember seeing if there's a direct access from the new building to the old one. Are we still using the old building? She said she didn't move it.
So I'll answer a couple of the questions.
Whatever you can, no rush,
Yeah,
I'm just
well,
commenting.
if-
But I think it's beautiful, and I would like to participate in keeping it clean if
So
they have a committee.
I'll say this is the first virtual tour that SOM, our designers, have shared with the full school committee. I think this is the second, if not third time, that the members of the building committee of the Crocker Elementary School have gone through the virtual tour and have seen numerous early versions of the footprint. And one of the things that I believe that SOM and Colliers, our owner's project manager, have done an extremely good job is really being as creative, elegant, and efficient as possible with the overall design, so that there is actually less corridor space in this school to try to limit the amount of square footage. So the estimated school population for Crocker is 840 students, and that'll be grades 1 through 5, which will be consistent with the redistricting that's going into effect next year. Some of the other questions in terms of, we've been working with a variety of subcontractors, including security subcontractors, Fitchburg Police Department, Fire Department, all the public safety departments of the city have been involved in all stages of the design, whether it be from the outside roads, access around the building, to actually entering the building, how students enter. So they have been involved in every step of the way so far. So I think in terms of number of classrooms, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I don't know if Mr. Shalfor or if Diana or Ed have that specific information, or if they don't, we can get back with maybe a fact sheet, just a summary for members of the committee who had some specific questions on that. But we've been working on a version of this design for well over a year now, and now we're just in there's been a lot of value engineering that has occurred over the recent, several months as we've tried to keep this, as close to the budget as possible. So, but I don't think the floor plan in terms of the hallways is, actually, if anything, it's almost minimalist in terms of trying to make sure that the classrooms are distributed in learning pods, which goes back to the revisioning that we did over 3 years ago with Frank Locker, who was our educational consultant. So,
Superintendent, can I add a few comments? I will tell you there are 47 classrooms, including the shared classroom. I do understand the comments about the building looking somewhat generic. I will say our philosophy in designing this building is that we want to create a building that is going to last for 50 years at least, that can be used by future generations in a way that they view it as compatible with what they need at that time. So for instance, we believe strongly that the environment of the classroom is very much related to what the teacher creates there. And that's, the things that they choose to put on the walls, the types of carpet or rugs they put down for the kids to be on. So we really wanted to create almost a blank canvas in parts of the building so that the occupants could really make it their own. So I absolutely agree. We want this to be a place where these folks, everybody that's in that building, they feel like it's theirs. It relates to who they are and their communities. And that's our approach with any school that we design. So the animation does sort of reinforce this, blank canvas in a way that we want people to occupy and enliven and generate excitement with. That's some of the philosophy with what you're seeing there.
If I could just share.
Yes.
Thank you. So I like the presentation a lot. Everything looks great, and it's really fun to see some, all the ideas that you had in the last presentation kind of come to life, come to 3 dimensions, so to speak. So that was really fun to see. A few of my thoughts and questions, and at this stage in the game, at this phase rather, it's hard to know what's a trivial matter to bring up and what's a pertinent thing to bring up at this scale. But nonetheless, I thought I'd just share some of my thoughts. So safety was one thing that I wrote down before the presentation, before it even started. It seems like it has a lot of entrances, and at this point, we've talked about in other schools, keeping them safe, keeping the doors locked, so on and so forth. That was just one thought I had. There was a direct entrance to the gym, which is very practical and makes sense, to the cafeteria, which again, practical and makes sense. Just a thought to make sure that we're keeping safety at the center of all those kind of decisions. The second thing was whether it's on budget and whether that continues to be on budget. Once we kind of have the ideas on paper and words and we see them come to life in a design and we start to get, closer estimations of what it's going to be, I just kind of like to see what our initial projections for the budget was and how that's changed since then. And then lastly, with a bunch of exclamation parts, is the roof. Our district has spent a lot of money on roofs in the last 5-10 years, probably too much. I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands or millions, but it's too much. So there was multiple terraces of the roof, and I know this is something I brought up last time too, because our current high school was designed for Georgia, which doesn't have New England blizzards. So I just want to make sure that that is something that's really important, that that oversight can lead to a whole lot of ramifications, a whole lot of money to fix it. Seeing that there's multiple terraces on the roof there made me immediately concerned about when we get to that building phase. That will be one thing I talk about further down the road more, just so we make sure that that is all squared away. The library is probably my favorite part, which wasn't a surprise. That looked amazing. And bringing up the hallways, just as a last point, I really enjoy the extended learning areas, and I know you talked about that in the initial presentation. But as a student with ADHD myself, I would be very concerned about my ability to focus in those hallway classrooms. And that was just an immediate concern of mine. So, how we use that with IEPs, and whether students that are going to be easily distracted are learning in those spaces, that's something I'm thinking about. But certainly, I would rather have it be a dynamic space than just be a wide hallway. So I'm glad that we're at least using the space well. So all in all, really happy, and I'm looking forward to the next step.
Peter. Thank you, Diana. Again, I love that presentation, and for me, you've exceeded what my expectations for what Sam has done. Again, not just fire, police, and many other departments that Mr. Jokela mentioned, but the teachers and administration were very much involved in giving information, their input as to what they wanted in a classroom and in a school building. So I think, and it's ongoing, it's not finished yet, and I just thank you, Diana, for the great job your team has done.
How about the question about the lighting? What type of lighting is it?
Diana, did you hear that? What type of lighting is it?
So,
Oh,
go ahead, Ed.
sorry. Just primarily LEDs. There's no fluorescence in the building.
I'm sorry,
I
didn't
didn't
hear
hear
that.
LED.
I didn't hear
LED
you.
lighting.
It's primarily LED lighting, not fluorescent
Right.
in the building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Diana, could you explain to the committee what SOM and what you mean by SOM and how that ties into the school building?
The name of our firm, you mean?
Your firm, SOM,
Sure.
how you're using the natural light and the natural surroundings of the area?
Sure. So SOM, the name of our firm, means together or collaborate in multiple languages. So that also talks about the way that we as a firm work both, as a group of architects and with consultants, but also with clients and contractors and, committees such as this. So our philosophy for, as I mentioned, designing schools is rooted in a couple of things, but one of them that we believe is central to this building is biophilic design. And so while I mentioned that does relate to the occupants connecting to nature or thinking about nature in some way, that's not just a concept that's architectural. There's research behind this that it really supports social emotional learning. It helps students understand diversity because they see the diversity of nature. It helps develop empathy. And so we believe that what we are doing is both architectural, but also something that has an impact on the students, on the way they learn, and on the outcomes from learning in spaces like these.
I have another question. Is there a basement to this building?
There is not a basement.
So boiler rooms and heat and all that is on the
That's
first
in
floor?
one of the cores. It's in the core of the first floor where it's in the center, I should say, in the admin area. So it's the admin and the nurse and that area. And so that's located in part because of the site utilities that exist.
Thank you. Any further questions? Tom?
I don't have a question. I just have more of a compliment. I think that I like what I see in terms of 21st century already, moving toward our future and not so much focusing on the old, you know what I mean? So I like the lighting, you know, there's lighting, and that gives us the ability to cut back on using electricity and using natural light that's coming into the building. And I like how, the building has a color that stands out, you know what I mean? And you can spot it, you know what I mean? So I like the energy that is already portrayed.
I'm sorry to say, I have another question. Do you have any elevators in that building?
We do. We have 2 elevators.
One last comment, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
One last comment I'd like for the people out in our audience. Just would like people to know how hard the city council and the mayor have worked to make this project go because of all the changes, the increase in costs, but yet they've really come through to make this school a reality for the city. So thank you.
I have another question. Do you have the figures for withstanding a tornado or storms, or earthquake, or the structural strengths?
So the building is designed to meet the seismic codes for Massachusetts, and so that's very much part of the structural design. We coordinate that with the structural engineer.
Good question.
So you say it's set to meet the seismic code? Is that the code of Massachusetts or the code of Fitchburg, or?
That's a state code. So that also deals, Ed, you should probably talk about this more than I should, but about lateral loads, which is what I think you're alluding to.
Yeah, the building meets all the latest codes as well as ADA regulations. And, you know, that goes through everything from the structure and how it performs in a seismic event or an earthquake event, right through to the type of roofing and how it stands up with certain winds. It's all laid out in the code. And this building, everything from the windows, the way the bathrooms are laid out, the way the roof is constructed, meets all of that criteria. That's sort of a quick answer to your question.
Good question.
Thank you very much. Very impressive.
Hey, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Diana. I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on my report is really not necessarily a presentation, but just an update as to the Fitchburg Civic Days, which kicked off this past weekend with the Nashua River Brewers Fest. Continues July 3rd with the block party at the Upper Common, followed by the fireworks at 10 p.m. And on July 4th, for those who want to get up early and hear the cannons fire, we have the 5:30 a.m. cannon firing.
That's right.
Which the mayor will be.
I will be there.
Lighting them off.
With earplugs.
Say that with a smile on your face.
Doesn't
Mr.
help,
Mayor.
though. It doesn't help. I mean, yeah.
And at 10 a.m., the 4th of July parade from Summer Street to the Upper Common. I just have one question: will Main Street be will the parade be going just one way?
The 20,000 plus people can go any way they want because it'll be blocked off. And
lastly, on July 10th, from 3 to 6:30 is the Amazing Duck Race at Riverfront Park. So.
Please, if you haven't, get your ducks. Please.
In a row?
If you haven't already, get your ducks in a row. Get them. Just make sure you lay the money down. Let's go. Okay? And seriously, you should if you got a big family, get a duck for each member of your family and name the duck after your family member. That's what I do. Right. Okay. And listen, we're hoping this is going to be a real breakout weekend because we've been cooped up for so long. This is the breakout moment, and we're planning on a really, really festive occasion, and a lot of people having a good time. So please come on down, bring your families, bring your friends. enjoy. There'll be a lot going on.
Planning it, looking forward.
Right, then we have some grants one to submit and 8 to accept. Mr. Shalfo?
Thank you, Mr. Jokla. We have one grant to submit. It's an Open SciEd Field Test Grant. The amount of the grant has not been published yet, but it's to work, to go towards Fitchburg High School, working with the Open SciEd Field Testing for biology and chemistry. That's the one for us to submit. And then we have our summer grants for acceptance. These are all anticipated numbers. They are titled grants, Title I, Title IIA, Title III, and Title IV. Our 21st Century Grant, our PL 94-142, which is Children with Disabilities Grant, our Early Childhood, and our Perkins Grant. These are all to be submitted, or these are estimated numbers that will be updated over the course of the summer and early fall.
Great.
And I think that concludes the superintendent's portion and the budget portion. Now it's action items.
Action items.
Make a motion to bundle 22-181 through 22-183.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded to bundle 181, 182, 183. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. We will bundle.
Make a motion to accept 22-181 through 22-183.
Seconded?
Motion made and seconded to accept 21-181, 22-182, 22-183. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous.
Motion for adjournment, Mr. Mayor.
Motion made to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.